The Killer Clown. John Wayne Gacy was born on March 17, 1942, in Chicago, Illinois. He was the second of 3 children in a working-class family. His father, John Stanley Gacy, was a World War I veteran and an auto repair machinist, while his mother, Marion Elaine Robison, was a homemaker. Gacy's childhood was marked by a tumultuous relationship with his father, who was often abusive and had a significant impact on Gacy's psychological development. Gacy was a bright child but struggled with feelings of inadequacy and isolation. He was often bullied at school and had a difficult time making friends. Despite these challenges, he was active in school activities and was known for his charm and sociability. After dropping out of high school, Gacy worked various jobs, eventually becoming a successful contractor. Gacy's criminal behavior began in the 1960s when he was arrested for the sexual assault of a teenage boy in Iowa. He was convicted and sentenced to 10 years in prison but served only 18 months before being released on parole. After his release, Gacy moved to Chicago, where he became involved in local politics and was known for his community service, including performing as Pogo the Clown at children's parties. Despite his public persona, Gacy's darker tendencies persisted. He was known to lure young men to his home under the pretense of offering them work or assistance. Once there, he would overpower them, often using handcuffs as part of a magic trick. Gacy would then sexually assault, torture, and ultimately murder his victims. Gacy's murder spree spanned from 1972 to 1978. He targeted primarily teenage boys and young men, many of whom were runaways or from troubled backgrounds. Gacy's method of operation typically involved luring his victims to his home, where he would incapacitate them and then commit his horrific acts. He often used a variety of methods to kill, including strangulation and asphyxiation. The bodies of his victims were buried in the crawl space of his home, while others were discarded in nearby rivers. The sheer number of victims and the brutality of the crimes shocked the local community and law enforcement. The investigation into Gacy's crimes began in earnest after the disappearance of 15-year-old Robert Piest in December 1978. Piest was last seen leaving work at a pharmacy to meet Gacy about a potential job. When Piest's family reported him missing, police began to investigate Gacy, who was known to have been the last person seen with him. As the investigation unfolded, police obtained a search warrant for Gacy's home. What they discovered was horrifying. The remains of 29 young men and boys were found buried in the crawl space, with 4 additional bodies recovered from the Des Plaines River. The stench emanating from Gacy's home had been a long-standing issue, which he had attributed to plumbing problems. Gacy was arrested on December 21, 1978, and charged with multiple counts of murder. During his interrogation, he initially denied any wrongdoing but later confessed to the murders, claiming that he had committed them in a state of multiple personalities. Gacy's trial began in April 1980, and it quickly became a media sensation. The prosecution presented overwhelming evidence of Gacy's guilt, including his confessions and the physical evidence found at his home. Gacy's defense team attempted to argue that he was insane, citing his history of mental health issues and his claims of multiple personalities. Despite these arguments, the jury found Gacy guilty of 33 counts of murder, making him one of the most prolific serial killers in U.S. history. He was sentenced to death on March 13, 1980. Gacy spent 14 years on death row, during which time he continued to maintain his innocence and sought to appeal his conviction. He became a subject of fascination for the media and the public, with numerous documentaries, books, and articles exploring his life and crimes. On May 10, 1994, John Wayne Gacy was executed by lethal injection at the Stateville Correctional Center in Illinois. His death marked the end of a dark chapter in American criminal history, but the legacy of his crimes continues to haunt the communities affected by his actions. The story of John Wayne Gacy has had a profound impact on popular culture. His dual identity as a community figure and a brutal killer has been explored in various forms of media. In recent years, Gacy's life and crimes have been revisited in new documentaries and series, including Conversations with a Killer, The John Wayne Gacy Tapes, which features previously unreleased recordings of Gacy speaking about his crimes and his life. These explorations continue to captivate audiences and provoke discussions about the nature of evil and the factors that contribute to such heinous acts. The Zodiac Killer. The identity of the Zodiac Killer remains unknown, but the first confirmed murders attributed to him occurred between 1968 and 1969. However, some believe that his criminal activities may have begun earlier, with the 1966 murder of Sherry Jo Bates in Riverside, California, often linked to the Zodiac due to similarities in the modus operandi and the killer's taunting letters. The Zodiac Killer's first confirmed victims were high school students Betty Lou Jensen and David Faraday, who were shot on December 20, 1968, near Lake Herman Road in Vallejo, California. This brutal double homicide marked the beginning of a series of attacks that would terrorize the San Francisco Bay Area. The Zodiac Killer is believed to have committed at least 5 murders, with 2 additional victims surviving his attacks. The confirmed victims include Betty Lou Jensen and David Faraday, shot on December 20, 1968, near Lake Herman Road; Darlene Ferrin and Michael Mageau, attacked on July 4, 1969, in a parked car at Blue Rock Springs Park in Vallejo. Ferrin was killed, while Mageau survived. Cecilia Shepard and Brian Hartnell, stabbed on September 27, 1969, at Lake Berryessa. Hartnell survived, but Shepard succumbed to her injuries 2 days later. Paul Stein, a taxi driver, shot on October 11, 1969, in San Francisco. This murder was notable for its proximity to the city and the killer's brazen approach. The Zodiac Killer gained notoriety not only for his brutal crimes but also for his chilling correspondence with local newspapers. On August 1, 1969, he sent letters to the San Francisco Chronicle, the Vallejo Times-Herald, and the San Francisco Examiner, taking credit for the murders and including a cipher that he challenged readers to decode. The letters were signed with a symbol resembling the crosshairs of a gun sight, and they often began with the phrase, "This is the Zodiac speaking." The first cipher, known as the 408 cipher, was decoded shortly after its release, revealing a message that stated, "I like killing people because it is so much fun." This shocking admission captured public attention and heightened the fear surrounding the Zodiac's activities. In November 1969, the Zodiac sent another cipher, the 340 cipher, which remained unsolved for over 50 years until it was finally decoded in December 2020 by a team of amateur codebreakers. The message included the line, "I hope you are having lots of fun trying to catch me." The investigation into the Zodiac Killer's crimes was extensive, involving multiple law enforcement agencies and thousands of tips from the public. Despite the overwhelming media attention and the killer's taunting letters, the case remained unsolved for decades. One of the most prominent suspects was Arthur Lee Allen, a convicted sex offender who died in 1992. Allen was linked to the Zodiac through circumstantial evidence, but he was never formally charged. Other suspects have emerged over the years, but none have been definitively proven to be the Zodiac Killer. The case was marked by numerous challenges, including the lack of forensic technology available at the time and the killer's ability to evade capture. The Zodiac's clever use of ciphers and his taunting demeanor made him a figure of fascination for amateur detectives and true crime enthusiasts. The Zodiac Killer's story has had a profound impact on popular culture, inspiring numerous books, documentaries, and films. The 1971 film, Dirty Harry, starring Clint Eastwood, was loosely based on the Zodiac case, and the 2007 film, Zodiac, directed by David Fincher, provided a detailed account of the investigation and the lives of those affected by the murders. The Zodiac's cryptic letters and ciphers have also inspired a subculture of amateur sleuths and codebreakers, who continue to analyze his correspondence in hopes of uncovering new clues about his identity. The enduring mystery of the Zodiac Killer has kept the case alive in the public consciousness, with new theories and suspects emerging regularly. In recent years, advancements in forensic technology have reignited interest in the Zodiac Killer case. In 2020, a team of amateur codebreakers successfully decoded the 340 cipher, leading to renewed discussions about the killer's identity. Additionally, law enforcement agencies have begun to utilize DNA analysis to revisit evidence from the crime scenes, hoping to find a genetic match that could lead to the Zodiac's identification. Despite these efforts, the Zodiac Killer remains unidentified, and the case is officially classified as an open investigation by the San Francisco Police Department and the FBI. The enduring nature of the case has led to ongoing public interest, with many hoping for a breakthrough that could finally bring closure to the victims' families and the communities affected by the Zodiac's reign of terror. The Ghost Adventures murder. Aaron Goodwin is a prominent figure in the paranormal reality television series, Ghost Adventures, which has been airing since 2008. The show features investigations of haunted locations, where Goodwin serves as a camera operator and investigator. In August 2022, he married Victoria Goodwin, and their relationship appeared to be thriving, as evidenced by their social media posts showcasing happy moments together. However, the facade of a blissful marriage began to crumble when Victoria was arrested on March 6, 2025, on charges of solicitation to commit murder and conspiracy to commit murder. The allegations stemmed from her communications with Grant Amato, a Florida inmate convicted of murdering his family in 2019. Reports indicate that Victoria allegedly sought to hire Amato to kill her husband, Aaron, while he was filming an episode of Ghost Adventures in California. According to the arrest reports, Victoria Goodwin and Grant Amato exchanged messages that revealed a disturbing plot. The Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department uncovered these communications after seizing Amato's contraband phone. The messages included discussions about their feelings for each other and Victoria's expressed desire to end her marriage rather than seek a divorce. One particularly chilling message read, "Am I a bad person? Because I chose to end his existence. Not divorce." Victoria allegedly set aside $11,515 to pay for the murder, including an upfront payment of $2,500. She provided Amato with details about Aaron's filming schedule, indicating when and where he would be vulnerable. In one message, she inquired about the status of the plot, asking, "He's asleep right now in the hotel room. I need to know what's going on. Can I get an update? Was it done?" Despite the overwhelming evidence, Victoria Goodwin has pleaded not guilty to the charges. During her interrogation, she claimed to have been fantasizing about the situation and denied any intention to have her husband killed. She stated that she did not remember sending the incriminating messages and believed the money was intended for cell phones. Following her arrest, Victoria Goodwin appeared in court, where her attorney waived a preliminary hearing. A status check was scheduled for April 8, 2025, as negotiations regarding her case continue. Meanwhile, Aaron Goodwin filed for divorce shortly after the arrest, citing irreconcilable differences and expressing that there was no possibility of reconciliation. In a public statement, Aaron expressed gratitude for the support he received during this emotionally challenging time. He described feeling blindsided by the allegations, as he believed their marriage was stable. The couple had shared numerous affectionate posts on social media just days before the incident, further highlighting the shocking nature of the allegations. The case has garnered significant media attention, with various outlets covering the unfolding drama. Fans of Ghost Adventures have expressed their shock and disbelief at the allegations against Victoria. Many have taken to social media to voice their support for Aaron Goodwin, while others have speculated about the motivations behind Victoria's actions. The involvement of Grant Amato, a convicted murderer, has added another layer of intrigue to the case. His history of violence raises questions about the nature of Victoria's relationship with him and the extent of her intentions. The investigation continues to unfold, and further details may emerge as the legal proceedings progress. David Parker Ray, the Toy Box Killer. David Parker Ray was born on November 6, 1939, in Belen, New Mexico. Raised in a dysfunctional family, Ray's childhood was marred by instability. His father was often absent, and his mother struggled with mental health issues. Ray was primarily raised by his grandparents, who instilled in him a strict and conservative upbringing. This environment, combined with his grandmother's peculiar beliefs such as the notion that he was the reincarnation of her deceased son, contributed to Ray's troubled psyche. As a young man, Ray exhibited troubling behaviors. He was known to have a fascination with sadomasochism and began to develop a penchant for violence. After high school, he enlisted in the United States Army but was discharged after a short period. Following his military service, Ray returned to New Mexico, where he worked as a maintenance man for the New Mexico State Parks, a job that provided him access to secluded areas ideal for his future crimes. In the late 1950s and early 1960s, Ray began to act on his violent fantasies. He constructed a soundproof trailer, which he referred to as his toy box. This trailer was equipped with an array of instruments designed for torture, including whips, chains, surgical tools, and various sex toys. Ray would often lure women to his trailer under false pretenses, promising them jobs or assistance, only to subject them to horrific acts of sexual violence. Ray's modus operandi involved kidnapping women, holding them captive for extended periods, and subjecting them to physical and psychological torture. He would often record his assaults on audio tapes, which he later claimed were intended to help his victims remember their experiences. These tapes included graphic descriptions of the torture he inflicted, revealing the depths of his depravity. David Parker Ray is suspected of having kidnapped, tortured, and sexually assaulted dozens of women over several decades. While he was convicted of only a few counts of kidnapping and sexual assault, law enforcement officials believe that he may have been responsible for the deaths of up to 60 victims. Many of these women were never reported missing, and their fates remain unknown. Ray's victims often included vulnerable individuals, such as runaways and those struggling with addiction. He would typically hold them captive for weeks or even months, during which time he would drug them to erase their memories of the abuse. Afterward, he would abandon them, often near highways or remote areas, leaving them traumatized and disoriented. One of the most notable cases involved Cynthia Vigil, who managed to escape from Ray's clutches in March 1999. Vigil's escape led to the investigation that ultimately uncovered Ray's crimes. She reported her ordeal to the authorities, providing them with crucial information that would lead to Ray's arrest. The investigation into David Parker Ray began in earnest after Cynthia Vigil's escape. Law enforcement officials conducted a thorough search of Ray's property, including the infamous toy box trailer. Inside, they discovered a disturbing array of torture devices and evidence of Ray's heinous acts. The search also revealed audio tapes in which Ray detailed his sadistic fantasies and the abuse he inflicted on his victims. On March 22, 1999, David Parker Ray was arrested and charged with multiple counts of kidnapping and sexual assault. During his interrogation, he initially denied the charges but later confessed to some of his crimes, claiming that he had an addiction to bondage and torture. His chilling demeanor and lack of remorse shocked investigators and the public alike. David Parker Ray's trial began in 2001, and it quickly garnered significant media attention. The prosecution presented overwhelming evidence of Ray's guilt, including the testimonies of his victims and the physical evidence found in the toy box. Despite his attempts to portray himself as a misunderstood individual with a unique lifestyle, the jury found him guilty of kidnapping and sexual assault. In April 2001, Ray was convicted and sentenced to 224 years in prison. However, he was never tried for murder due to a lack of concrete evidence linking him to any homicides. Throughout the trial, Ray maintained that he had not killed anyone, although investigators believed otherwise. David Parker Ray died on May 28, 2002, from a heart attack while serving his sentence at the New Mexico State Penitentiary. His death came just months before he was scheduled to undergo a police interrogation regarding the potential existence of more victims. The lack of closure for many families and the uncertainty surrounding the true extent of Ray's crimes continue to haunt the communities affected by his actions. The legacy of David Parker Ray is one of horror and tragedy. His crimes have inspired numerous documentaries, books, and podcasts, each exploring the depths of his depravity and the impact on his victims. The case has sparked discussions about the nature of evil, the psychology of serial offenders, and the importance of supporting survivors of sexual violence. In recent years, the case has gained renewed attention through podcasts and documentaries that delve into the details of Ray's crimes and the experiences of his victims. These narratives aim to honor the voices of those affected by his actions and raise awareness about the ongoing issues of sexual violence and exploitation.